In Gemara Sanhedrin, Rabbi Yossi is quoted as saying the following. Rabbi Yossi teaches that 3 commandments become obligatory once we enter Israel: to anoint a king, to destroy Amalek, and to build the temple.
Yeah.
And he learns that it must be done in that order, because it says, and when he gives you rest from all of your enemies, then it will come to pass that in the place which the Lord your God will choose to rest his name, that you will bring offerings and rejoice before the Lord. Our enemies need to be gone, and we need to be in this place where God chooses to rest his name before we can rejoice all together. Because we did enter, though Amalek tried to keep us from entering our land, tried to keep us from successfully breaking free of our slavery in Egypt, tried to kill us, because lo yaru Elohim, they did not fear God. But Moses raised his hands and called our attention back to the heavens and their maker, and that's how we survived. But it didn't help, because we couldn't enter the land that we were en route to, even after our detour. Instead, we sent in spies, letur et haaretz, and that failure brought about tzitzit. And you should see them. See that steadfast dye, that blue string like the sea, like the heavens. And you should remember that I am your God. See them in every generation to remember every one of the commandments. Remember them and do them, and thus be holy, because God took us out of Egypt and brought us to the Promised Land. And in the Promised Land, we anointed a king and set out to destroy Amalek. We came close, but we failed. We built a temple anyways and patted ourselves on the back for trying to fulfill what the book told us to, until we lost sight of everything that book stood for and found ourselves suddenly, incredulously exiled from our homes with the temple in flames. And the colors and the metals which once marked our king's palace of cedar, simply a part of Achashverosh's regal wardrobe and interior design. And perhaps that would have been all it ever was, Tchelet reduced to the pompousness of exile, had Mordechai not prevailed upon Esther to speak up for her people and successfully left the king's presence, Bilvush Malchut, Tchelet, Vachor, Va'ateret Zahav, and all of Shushan rejoiced to see again that steadfast color of sky and heaven above. Not much later, though, the skill is lost, torn from us when Rome scatters us to all 4 corners of the earth, and we can't find the chilazon anymore to make tchelet. But still, tzitzit. Uri'item otam uzchatem. Remember how our lack of faith and our difficulty looking up at the blue of the heavens and thinking of God let them nearly succeed in killing us from behind. Zachor, what they did to you on your way out of Egypt, and Zachor, that I took you out of Egypt and created the world in 7 days, and Zachor, all of my commandments. Zachor, what is written down in the book, that when you enter the land of Israel, you must blot out the entirety of the memory of the people of Amalek. But it doesn't say that when you leave the land, they will try again to kill you, just for seeing you try to remember what God asked of you. They will try to kill you again, over and over, throwing lots until the day is sufficiently auspicious, the 13th of Adar, auspicious and far away in the future, far enough that an entire nation who did nothing except refuse to bow will cower in fear for nearly a year. Only we didn't cower, did we? Terrified at first, but Esther agrees to step forward and denounce our enemy after 3 days of fasting. And Amalek, so certain that he had nothing to lose, that this time he attacked us from the front, found himself on his knees before the queen, begging her to let him live, just as officials in Egypt pleaded with Pharaoh to let us leave, to let them live in destroyed Egypt in peace. Because if you count on your fingers, you discover that the lots thrown on the 13th of Nisan meant that Esther fasted instead of reclining and eating her sandwich of matzah and maror, that she redeemed us from peril on Pesach itself. And the cycle repeats. We leave Egypt and face Amalek, and enter Israel and face Amalek, and leave Israel and face Amalek, and leave Egypt again, always again, attacked and redeemed again and again. And when we remember leaving Egypt, we remember the land of milk and honey where he brought us. And when we remember leaving Egypt, we remember our cousins, the bandits, who set upon us because lo yaru Elohim. But then we look up toward the tchelet skies and we think of the woven walls of the Mishkan and the Kohen's clothes and the endless sea.